Get the numbers up, everybody. Welcome. All right, my links are now in the troll box. If you guys are interested in signing up for my email newsletter, 4,000 people get, you can add your email in just a few seconds over there. Welcome, folks. Numbers up. Notifications on, numbers up, and please share away. Much to discuss today. So, do we sell in May or do we stay and pay? Sell in May or stay and pay? So, I'm going to share my current portfolio and welcome thoughts from everybody. None of this is investment advice. I'm just, again, sharing my portfolio because I'm an overshare YouTuber who shares stuff about my life, and that's how I make my money, you know? So, welcome, everybody. Get the numbers up. I also do a weekly podcast, highly rated weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and elsewhere. Pretty much every podcast player has it. And if you want to listen to the podcast, my YouTube channel, just click on the podcast tab because we upload every episode over there for convenience sake. Hey, everybody, welcome. I'll spit out my disgusting nicotine gum when we hit critical mass here. Right now, I'm just warming the audience up, right? Warming you guys up. I'm like a comedian without the funny part, you know? Although one guy on Twitter today said everything I come out with is unintentionally hilarious. Or that, my stuff cracks him up. That's good. I try not to be funny, but like some of what's happened to me in my life is funny. And some of the weakness that people try to meet me with. When I come from a place of peace, but also from a place of great power and significant prosperity. And people come to me from this weird, low vibe place, making stuff up about me. And I think to myself, man, it's too bad I don't have a YouTube channel with 130,000 subscribers. Because if I did, I could totally just do a live stream and correct the record and blow these people out of the water, Oh, wait, I do have that. Wow, dream come true. Hey, thank you, Justin. Says Big Dave, loving the consistent streams. Yeah, these streams are going to be more and more consistent because, again, I was skimming social media and I see him now the target of these engagement farmers. Whatever happened to Joe Rogan's most deleted guest? At nearly 40, today he's penniless. It's like, okay, you want to go down that path? Let's talk about how Bitcoin is up over $105,000. Over $105,000 this fine Sunday morning. And so, yeah, I want the numbers up. I'm going to talk stocks today. Again, nothing said is investment advice. Do your own diligence, right, folks? Yeah, do your own diligence. Never listen to, I was listening to some streamer. I'm going to have this guy on my show, actually. So I'm not holding it against him. But I was listening to this really smart friend of mine. And he does streams on Twitter, right? And I just caught his stream by chance. And I've followed his line of thinking, right? Because the guy used to be in banking. And I thought, damn, the market's going to drop sharp if what this dude is saying is true. So I closed out of some of my positions. And the market ripped. I lost over one. Lost over $1 million in a day. Which is like taking a cold shower, it tightens you up a little bit. Lost $1 million in a day just because I listened to this guy's live stream. So point is, don't listen to other people. I don't hold it against him, by the way. I was weak for listening to another person. And the fact he has more social status than me. He used to work for big banks and stuff and sold a company for a lot of money. That should be irrelevant when it comes to my portfolio and my vision of the future. What anybody else says is ultimately irrelevant. And you should feel the same way. It's like even, what the people around you say, it's like, no, if you have a target in mind, and if you have enough discipline and patience, what other people say ultimately should not sway you one way or another, Hey, good morning, Rocky. Yeah, I don't know what the intentionality curve is for all these sudden posts on social media saying that I basically no longer exist. But we're so going to fact check that one, aren't we? From our massive YouTube platform, as well as the podcast. If I could just podcast, that would be the dream. Just, just do this all day with no video requirement. I would love that. That'd be the dream. Like some fucking Ted Kaczynski in a cabin somewhere. Could just ramble all day through my podcast mic, right? But we live in the modern world. You got to work for it. YouTube is the public square. You got to show your face, I think, anyways. These people uploading stuff where it's just some AI slop as they're talking. That's not what people want. They want to see you, they want to see where you're coming from. And I enjoyed last night's stream a lot. I had a Bloody Mary on the air, little Tito's vodka. And this morning I did the sauna. Did the sauna in my building. Sweated all that tech. So I feel very healthy right now, aside from the nicotine gum. I feel like a very healthy man at the moment. Omar says success is the best revenge. It really is. I mean, to say that I disappeared when I'm here, and I launched a huge ad campaign. I mentioned this on Twitter. We bought some ads. You're going to see them everywhere pretty much. Ads that are excerpts of the last couple of live streams, explaining where I went, explaining why Rogan deleted my episodes, and explaining how if someone just feeds those WikiLeaks emails into an LLM like ChatGPT and says, find me the instances of possible human trafficking or possible criminality, it'll just give you the goods. When you can say, be sure to analyze the attachments also. Because part of my journalism, where I was making these claims about these people, it was based on the attachments. It wasn't just the weird, kind of riddler emails themselves. It wasn't just the text content. It was actually the attachments. Really the most disturbing scandal I've ever. 9 years later, it still gives me chills, But again, I've moved beyond that scandal because I feel that younger people or people who need the fame or the glory or guys like Ian Carroll who are already famous and talking about Pizzagate, I feel like they're going to blow it wide open. I don't need to take any more blows. I don't want to talk about these people at the top. I really don't, especially since I'm kind of close to the top. I don't want to do an Icarus. I'm enjoying my new perch. What website is the best for leveraged crypto trading? What do you guys think of the troll box? Good question. What are you guys using for your highly leveraged crypto trades, if anything? I will say my favorite overall platform at the moment is Robinhood. Sorry, despite them screwing me on a trade last week, Robinhood remains my favorite because you just send your Bitcoin to the QR address, the QR code they give you, right? And minutes later they credit you, and you can sell that bit if you want and use that to buy stocks. Or what many people do, I've done this myself in the past, you deposit some Bitcoin at Robinhood, right? You sell it when you feel like selling it. You sell it for dollars. And then you use those dollars, which are immediately credited to you. You use those dollars for the sale of your Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin ETFs using Robinhood. And you sign up for Robinhood's margin account, which is where you're borrowing money from Robinhood based on the assets you have on the platform, right? And so if you get a proper margin account with Robinhood, you can actually buy up to $4 of Bitcoin ETF for every $1 of real Bitcoin you've deposited and sold, right? Because it's 25% maintenance requirement if you're using margin to buy. Some of the Bitcoin ETFs are 30% margin, but on Robinhood, you can definitely find some of the ETFs only have 25% margin requirement. And so if you truly believe in Bitcoin, and if you have enough Bitcoin that even if you were to send some to Robinhood, you still have your stash, right? I'm not saying send it all to Robinhood. I truly don't believe in all your eggs in one basket. I think diversification is what keeps you alive. It really is. I've had some wipeouts where I haven't had to crash out and do a Dave Portnoy live stream crying about the millions of dollars I've lost, because I have other fires going. And usually when I'm losing money, I'm making money somewhere else, like a little bank, you know. uh, but yeah, so if you deposit some of your crypto at Robinhood and then you sell it, and then during market hours you buy a Bitcoin ETF, you're effectively able to buy $3 more of Bitcoin than you have capital for, right? And margin, it requires knowing what you're doing to an extent, because you with margin, you got to read up on it. You have to understand both the terms, the interest rate, and stuff. But right now, the margin rates are very low. It's something like 5%, I think, to borrow from Robinhood, 5 or 5.25%. So you think about that. If it's 5.25% a year to borrow their money and then to sock it into a Bitcoin ETF, it's totally liquid, right? During regular market hours, these Bitcoin ETFs have shown that they're quite liquid, and they do track the price of Bitcoin very closely. Maybe not 100%, but very, very close. And so you can buy more than you actually have. If you truly believe in Bitcoin, why would you not want to do that? You know. So again, with Robinhood, they allow margin leverage to that extent. So 25% is the lowest you'll find. The margin maintenance, 25%. But that to me is the dream, right? To be sitting on some Bitcoin ETFs that you can sell at any time without having to fumble around with your cold wallet. That's the dream right there. So I think you should have some of your Bitcoin funds ready to go on a platform like Robinhood. Because what if things rip really fast? Like, what if we rip to 200K? Are you not going to want to sell off a little bit at that point? You know, I think a lot of people will. And if you have some in the ETFs, you can just sell it in a way where the reporting is also very clear. You know, it's a nightmare to send in your crypto transactions when it's time to do taxes. I'm sure you guys are well aware of this. It takes me like months to do all my crypto tax stuff. And I work with the CFP, Certified Financial Planner. I don't do it myself like in previous years. But it's a nightmare. So Robinhood, it's way simpler at the end of the year to just show Uncle Sam your consolidated Robinhood transactions. You know, as a person who's already done this, it's way easier than reporting your vanilla crypto. You know, reporting your crypto transactions way more difficult than reporting the buy or sell of a huge ETF. Yeah, I welcome people's suggestions for other platforms. Some of the banks now have pretty good platforms. Some of the big banks, if you ask them in your branch, see what they have going on, they can give you a special sometimes, where they can do the commission-free trades like Robinhood does. E-Trade, which is now owned by Morgan Stanley, a lot of people still like them. Interactive Brokers, I hear only good stuff about Interactive Brokers. It's more for experienced traders, though. It's, you know, a little less user friendly than Robinhood. Who else? eToro. I've never used them. Schwab has a pretty good reputation. Fidelity actually has a good reputation, and they have an in-house ETF. They have a Bitcoin ETF that I like because it's their own in-house wallet where it's stored. So their own in-house cold wallet procedures, instead of them just farming it out to Coinbase, as many of the other ETFs have done. Fidelity Bitcoin ETF is, again, their own Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm glad you love the consistency, you guys. And I see bigger and bigger numbers on the replays. We're going to keep doing this. How dare people say that I disappeared and like ran away from the story? No, I was banned. I said my say as much as I could. I even went to the White House. You guys remember that? I did that stream on the White House lawn about John Podesta, and it went viral. And that site, Right Wing Watch, even wrote me up. Got a little free press from the Soros kids. But yeah, I did my part. And if you think I didn't do enough, you're a clown. You know, I'm almost 40 years old and living my life at this point. You don't think I did enough during those years, you're an absolute clown. And I owe you nothing. But for everybody else, you know, I just want you guys to be here for the journey. Lower capital gains tax rate on the futures market, John says. Speaking of lower taxes, some of you guys have been sending me random huge tips on PayPal. Not only do I appreciate the shit out of that, uh, but as far as I can tell, if Trump's serious about this big, beautiful bill being passed in some form, and including the no tax on tips, well, this is tax year 2025. So my thinking is there's a very good chance that any tips I receive this year will be tax free. These are tips because you appreciate the content. These are service tips. You know, you're not buying something from me. You're truly just sending me money out of appreciation, the definition of a tip. So I'll send that to my CFP and see if he agrees. But pretty clear cut to me that unless that bill fails, all these tips that are coming in are potentially tax free, which I super appreciate. I don't think Trump's a perfect man. You have to remember this is a reality television billionaire who is reforming the country in the ways that he sees fit. And some of the stuff he's doing, I agree with, and some I don't agree with. But he's 100 times better than the alternative would have been. I don't think we'd be looking at $105,000 Bitcoins on a Sunday in May if Kamala were the president. I really don't. So this guy came through for us. He really did. This Bitcoin reserve, it's like a quantum jump in terms of Bitcoin's place in the world. For a major government to now be hoarding it is a paradigm shifter. And then some people have asked, why aren't the numbers bigger? I think when a YouTube channel is frozen for 8 years and then comes back, it takes a while for the algorithm to really favor us again. But already when you search for my name on YouTube, these streams are now the top thing, which is great. Instead of weird content about the soccer player who shares my name, no disrespect to his fans. But the guy's last game was played 22 years ago. His last game was in 2003. And it's totally fine that he wants to reminisce with his fans about the good old days. That to some extent is what I do. And it's just sad that he overlaps so much with me, But I think at a certain point, hey, step aside. Great soccer player. Your last game was 22 years ago. Move the fuck aside and let my content take over. I hate to sound like Danny McBride here or something, but it's my time. Move over. Yeah, the thing I said on Twitter is starting to take off. I explained what I'm doing. I said, it has begun. This one's for my dad. He always said Trump would get another term. He did. And he knew I was right about Pizzagate. He promised me I'd get my YouTube back. Just months after his death, I would, extraordinarily. Isn't that crazy? Just months after my dad died, Google said, hey, Dave, we've reviewed your account. We can't find that you did anything wrong. And as a result, we're restoring all of your stuff. And when my dad was saying that Trump would be in office again, it was a very kind of out of the margin bet to make, right? Because Trump was not super popular at that moment in time. In the summer of last year, he was not favored to win. People thought he was going to lose. Democrats were just branding him as the felon. People thought he was going to lose. Not my dad. My dad was right about everything. Hey, BC, welcome. Yeah, time for that soccer player to move over. I want my name back. He even owns davidseaman.com, which I used to own, and then I let it lapse because I don't have a huge ego. I don't need a domain name that's my name. I'm happy to have our content tied to Fulcrum, which is still a great brand. I'll put the link in the troll box. Yeah, other questions, other comments. Oh, let me finally get into my portfolio, I guess, because people watching on the replay. Vic says over on Twitter, brilliant. I love everything about it, about you doing these ads. These ads to clear up what happened to me. Brilliant, love everything about it, and taking full responsibility and not blaming anyone else is what a real man does. Godspeed. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I said my stuff over there. I don't fault Rogan. I don't fault his producer, Matt Staggs. I don't fault Brian Redband, who many years ago was a friend of mine. I don't fault these people, but someone made a mistake. Someone let me fall through the cracks, and someone did not give me a little hand up, you know. How did my dad die? He was in the hospital. He was having some issues from heart failure. He was in the hospital for a prolonged period of time and got an infection. They operated on his knee and they didn't clean the wounds. They didn't clean the band-aids. They didn't change them often enough. He got infected in the hospital, a place where they have antibiotics they can put you on. If you're going to get an infection, you'd think an intensive care in a major hospital would be the good place to get it, but they missed it until it spread, and he passed away in the middle of the night. I'd find out later that apparently before he died, he was asking to speak to me. This was like 3 in the morning or something. Nobody called me. Nobody from the hospital called me. You know, to this day, I wonder, what did my dad want to tell me? But I talked to him in days before I'd visited. But still, it's one of those things you just wonder, what was he going to say? I'll never know, you know? It's kind of shitty. I wish I hadn't been told that. To some extent, I wish I hadn't been told my dad was asking for me right before he died. It's pretty intense. But no, he was a great man, though. He knew who he was. He lived a great life, and he he had some health challenges. You know, I've been blessed with a body that seems to take anything, but he had some health problems from his heart. And actually, that's why one of the only companies I'm invested in is a company that's got a phase 3 heart failure drug. You know, am I in it to make money? Eventually, sure, but like I was attracted to that company because I think this is something we got to solve before our generation gets old. And wow, John says his dad got sick and died of the flesh-eating bacteria at Brooklyn's hospital. Wow, that sucks. You will see him again, and I'm sure he's very proud of you. Yeah, as I've said in previous streams, I think at least 60% chance there's an afterlife or continuation of consciousness. I do lean in that direction. It's a nice, it's a nice thing to comfort yourself, right? And a lot of the smartest people in the world think we're probably in a simulation and that consciousness is probably persistent, which that'd be great, you know. I hope that's the case. I hope we don't just disappear forever. 'Cause what a loss that is if we all just vanish, you know? But yeah, all right, time to analyze the portfolio. So I'm on the sell in May diet. I decided after a lot of thought that this market is just too chaotic and I don't want to spend my summer watching CNBC. And so for that reason, I sold off nearly all of my stocks. And right now, I still have a lot of shares of BioCardia. So BioCardia is the company that has the heart failure remedy in phase 3. After phase 3, if the data is good, they can apply for approval from the FDA and from Japan's PMDA. Those are the 2 markets they're targeting in the short term, is US and Japan. So more than 1 million people in Japan in heart failure, 5 or 6 million people in the US in heart failure. And in the US, there are only something like 2,200 hearts available for heart transplant when you get to stage, or when you get to type 4. So you think about the numbers there. A heart transplant is not an easy thing. It's very, very arduous process. And you have to take medicines so that your body doesn't reject the new heart, right? So, you know, you got to take immunosuppression medications. It's a very tough thing, the heart transplant. And again, only 2,200 people out of the 5 or 6 million who have heart failure are actually going to get a heart replacement. And the vast majority of them are on a track where 50% of people will die after 5 years. So if you can solve heart failure, it's not just a money thing for me. It's huge. It has personal impact. So yeah, even if it loses me money, I still have a lot of biocardia. So what I was saying, phase three, and then typically they can apply for approvals, and the process usually would take 6 to 10 months. But since they've already received FDA breakthrough designation for their remedy, their device and stuff, they've already received the breakthrough designation. And so, from what I understand, that means that the approval process, if it comes, could be much faster. It could occur on an expedited basis. So that's one of my Hail Mary passes. I also think even if the economy craters, people are going to spend their last dollar to stay alive, right? Your heart is a requirement, your brain is a requirement. And Michael Burry, the Big Short guy, he in a 13F filing, it came out he sold all of his stocks, all of them, aside from Estee Lauder, the makeup company, which he increased his position on. So people have analyzed his trades here, and they think that he's going with a makeup company because that's recession resistant. Women will spend on makeup no matter what. Now, I'm not a female consumer, so I don't know how true that is. Maybe the women watching can tell us. But I don't think that's true. I don't think if there's a massive pullback in the economy that you're going to still spend the same amount on makeup. You're going to go to cheaper brands and downsize, right? If you don't have a job anymore, or if you don't have any disposable income, it doesn't make sense to me that you'd be spending the same amount on makeup and cosmetics as you would before. But maybe I'm wrong. The one thing you will spend the same amount on is last mile healthcare, right? If it's the difference between a in and out procedure gives you extra years of life or not, if that's what it comes down to, then I think there's a huge market need. Right. Alcohol companies and tobacco companies, even casinos, these are typically the kinds of things that do well in a pullback because people do drink more still. People will drink more in a downturn. That doesn't go away. And people start to gamble. People start to do things that are lower, socially lower, right? All right. So aside from biocardia, I'm currently double short on Tesla. That's a position I opened on Friday. 2x short on Tesla stock. Got nothing against Tesla in general. I just think they're overbought considering that half of his customer base has basically sworn to never buy another Tesla. His brand has been tainted. Now, can he fix that? I don't know. Probably. He's very smart. He could probably fix it with enough discounts and promotions and stuff and get Tesla going again. They have a very low profit margin. I think it's like 2.1% on every car that leaves their factory. It's not a lot of money. You're only making 2.1 or 2.5% on the cars you sell. That's just not a lot of money coming in. So, and keep in mind, my double short on Tesla is something I'll get out of at any moment. I don't keep shorts like this for weeks at a time. This is something I'll watch it and probably get out on like either tomorrow or Tuesday if I see enough of a profit from it. I'm also triple short on the semiconductor index, triple short against the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, which includes as components AMD, Texas Instruments, NVIDIA, of course, Intel, and a bunch of other chip companies. So triple short on that. Same deal there. I don't hold these for weeks. It's something that I'll unload. It's already up. My trade is already up there, but it's something I'll hang on to until I see a reversal. So it's something just for days I'll keep. And then I own some of NSys Biosciences. I don't know how to say their name properly. That's how little I know about them. But I own some shares of this one. And again, I don't know much about them. Just very small position based on the charts and little else. And then, of course, a big Bitcoin and gold ETF holding. And that's it. That's literally it. So, again, triple short on the chips. I'm double short on Tesla. I own some BioCardia. I'm long on BioCardia because I just want to see a cure for heart failure, or not a cure, but I want to see a solid treatment for heart failure. And using your own stem cells is such a power move, you know. It's like this isn't really a device, it's a procedure. You know, they've got a device that's patented to inject the stem cells into your heart. They use the intracardial, uh, they call it a steerable introducer. It's basically a little tube that goes in and it injects your heart muscle with the stem cells they've harvested from your own bone marrow, the bone marrow in your hip bone. And it's a single day procedure. Isn't that wild? In and out. So they do a little drill into your hip bone, get the stem cells. They do some proprietary process to, get those stem cells, get them all cranked up, and they inject your heart. And they've seen something like an 80% reduction in fibrosis of the heart muscle. Isn't that crazy? 80% reduction in fibrosis. So they're literally seeing the damage of the heart be reversed when it's introduced to your body's own stem cells. And it's got to pass phase 3. That's the trials they're doing right now. But so far the data to me looks very good. And it's logical. It's a logical treatment, right? For years they've known that stem cells, when they're introduced, can promote healing and can regenerate things. And the data shows it seems to be actually working. This is like Star Trek stuff. Instead of cutting your heart open and replacing it with either a donor heart or some horrific mechanical thing like the left ventricle assist devices they now have, just horrific, right? It's like Darth Vader stuff, big mechanical pump in the middle of your chest. Instead of that nightmare, you go in, it's just a little tube they insert, little tube that goes in, you know, you're out ideally the same day. So that to me is awesome. And I'm thinking 10 or 20 years from now, 10 or 20 years out, the tube is going to be way smaller. It's going to be probably no more than a needle injection in your arm. The tube's going to be tiny. It'll probably eventually correct. It'll be guided by a robot one day. It'll go right into your heart. It'll inject what it needs to inject. And your death sentence, your heart failure death sentence, will get a reprieve. That's my dream. I'm happy to burn through some money to realize that dream, you know? Yeah, when I go short, it's really day by day. I watch the market closely when I'm double or triple short on something for sure, because you can lose your butt. But I watch things closely, and you can also make a lot of money if you believe this market's in for a true slide. And I wanted to mention the Moody's downgrade, right? So the U.S. was hit with the first credit ratings downgrade from Moody's ever. And people have looked up what happened in the past when the US was hit with downgrades from other ratings agencies. And every single time the market drops significantly. So let's see if I can find the numbers here. I have it saved on my other phone, so I'm gonna go grab that. I want to read the exact percentages. It's pretty interesting, right? So this Moody's downgrade, I think, will hit stocks. But even if this were to have no impact, it's just the tariffs. With Walmart saying now they have concerns about how the tariffs are going to impact their pricing, and Trump just saying "suck it up," basically telling Walmart to just suck it up. It's like no, there are economic realities, absolute hard economic realities that if you double the cost of the shit that people buy at Walmart every week, people are going to feel it, you know? All right, let me get those numbers. Be right back. All right, so this trader on X, He says August 5th, 2011, the S&P downgraded the US. SPX was down 6.59% the next day. August 1st, 2023, Fitch downgraded the US. SPX was down 1.55% the next day and down 5.2% over 17 days and down a whopping 10.3% over 87 days. May 16th, 2025, that's when the Moody's downgrade hit. And so we'll see what's going to happen this time. But yeah, I think I've fulfilled the purpose of this stream, right? I've shared my current portfolio. Hey, I'm glad to hear that, C. Thank you for turning me on to Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2016. You did me a solid. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, the price of these things in 2016. If you zoom out on the charts to where the price was in 2016, it's like a flat line, right? It's like the market hadn't even happened yet, just a flat line for months. People are getting in basically, for a smile. That was the price of an ether back in the day, was a smile and a pat on the back. Pretty wild. I guess I should say I have some ether too, right? Long-term ether holding. So full asset list: Bitcoin, ether, gold ETF, and then triple short on the semiconductor index and double short on Tesla. And my Hail Mary pass, Biocardia. Yeah, folks, recession or not, sell in May and go away is my current diet. But stay and pay is the alternative. You guys want to stay and pay throughout the summer. It's going to be lower volume. Looks like the war with Russia is kicking up. So that's very troubling, right? We see this great tour in the Middle East where Trump is healing old wounds in that region of the world and restoring their faith in the U.S. And it may not matter that much to investors. All those good vibes may not matter that much when you're watching footage of Russia just shelling Ukraine, right? And these new Russian drones, I don't know if you guys have seen this, it's horrific. They've got a new generation of drone that's AI guided, and they just glide around and wait to see something. And it's all machine, it's all on its own autonomous, and it finds trucks and stuff to kamikaze into. You can look this up on social media, called Russian kamikaze drones. Not good. Using a bunch of drones at this point. Something very dystopian about it. All right, so I'm going to leave this one. I feel like we've lost steam here, but thank you guys so much, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Watch the last couple of shows if you want. And that's it. That's all she wrote for now. Thank you guys so much for being here for this journey. Just a journey of transparency and also pushing back against weird people who seem to have an agenda, seem to have something genuinely against me, even all these years later. And hey, let's talk it out.